despite the difference in politics, we had split houses, and I think our new governor did very well in balancing the politics of having a Republican House and a Democratic Senate. It worked out very well. I think we passed some very good legislation, and he was a strong partner in all that. And we look forward to working with him in the future. So with that, I will introduce our new governor, Governor Hickenlooper.
It's kind of nice. I'm already getting nostalgic because I'm not going to be a new governor very long. It's 155 days, I think. Not done counting. Tom is right, and Representative Massey, first, you guys all, I'm sure the fact you're here, you know what a good job he does representing you and how hard he works trying to find the middle ground and make sure we do find consensus or as close as we can. People don't recognize it, but in this, I mean, you look at what happened in Wisconsin and Illinois and New Jersey and California. They are now, right now, settling their budgets in court, right? That they could not find that ground. In the end, there was a lot of discussion, but we passed our budget with 80 votes out of 100, right? Both houses had at least a 75% margin, both Republican House and Democratic Senate, and that's a result of an awful lot of hard work for people like Tom Massey. So give your representative. Now, the first bill we're signing is Senate Bill 230, which Representative Massey sponsored along with Senator Bob Bacon, who couldn't be here. But it modifies the funding for K-12 schools for 2011-2012 within that incredibly Byzantine, complex negotiation called the School Finance Act. And certainly, you guys all know this was a very tough year for every component of the budget, but especially for education. And luckily, due to Representative Massey, I did not have to go down in history as making the largest education cuts in the history of Colorado. Governor Ritter still can have that title from last year. But it really was only, in fairness, only because the economy came back and we were able to bring a lot more money back through. Although I will tell you there was no greater champion of education than Representative Massey, and he was riding hard over me and every other legislator, making sure that money was going to get back into education. Somebody told me once that children are 30% of the world's population, but 100% of their hope. And I think we do have to recognize that our kids in Salida, Colorado, in a very real way, when they grow up, they're going to be competing with kids who are growing up in China or India or Brazil, emerging economies all over the world. And we want to make sure they have the same opportunities we had, and the same choices about what they want to do. And the only way we can do that is to make sure that they have that foundation for everything in this country, a good education. And we are, I think this next year is going to be just as tough a budget as we had this year. Hopeful that the following year is going to get a little better. But in these times of less resources, it's all the more important to make sure that we use those resources properly. Make sure that the kids get the very best teachers, the very best classroom support, the very best opportunity. And I think each of us, in every way possible, we have to find our ways to support our teachers, to support our principals, and to make sure that we get involved in schools. One of the real tricks in this recession is going to be if we're able to get people to say, all right, maybe I can't write a big check or a donation, or I can't, the government doesn't have as much money as it had, but I can take a little bit of time and I can put some more time back into our kids. I think ultimately, if education really is the bedrock of our communities, and I think it is, then bills like this, Senate Bill 230, is really the bedrock of our education. So anyway, let me turn it over to Representative Massey and let him opine. He actually understands all this stuff. I'm still learning.
Interestingly enough, I had an opportunity a couple days ago to attend a rather large summit on school finance. We're talking about the School Finance Act and what we need to do to move forward in the future. And I think the most poignant comment from the whole day was the fact that looking at all the components of school finance, we actually have a very good school finance formula if we would ever fully fund that formula. I think it would work very well. So we continue to work around the margins and try to find ways to cut. But I think our school finance formula, for the most part, addresses all the needs of the districts very succinctly. But again, it's just about resources and about directing money to the School Finance Act. One of our biggest concerns is obviously the fact that we in rural Colorado feel like we should have the same kind of opportunities and access to capital for improvements, for infrastructure, for technology. We should have the same kind of course offerings. A couple of years ago, or a few years ago, I actually carried supplemental online education for Colorado. And one of the things we found was a school district like Cherry Creek would have 250 course offerings in their high school, whereas the Salida High School would have more like 120. So we're having to make up a lot of that with supplemental online. And I really think as we move forward, that's going to be more of a model for the future, the hybrid or blended model, so to speak. Because we're not going to be able to continue to pump these small rural communities for more taxpayer dollars. We're very fortunate in Salida that our community steps up time after time and funds education mill levy overrides for teacher salaries, increased bonding efforts, mill levy overrides for technology. I mean, we continue to go to the community and the community steps up. I don't know how much longer we can continue to do that. So at some point we're going to have to direct more dollars from the state. We're also going to have to increase the local share as per the Gallagher Amendment, which we'll continue to work on. Unfunded mandates are one of the continued problems, particularly, some of our federal mandates such as special ed. It's a federal mandate for programs. The feds put in about 10%, the state puts in about 17%, and school districts get to make up the balance, the other 73%. So a lot of this federal policy drives costs at the district level, and we've got to get away from that. But that being said, it was a work of love by a number of us to pass school finance. We hate to make cuts at all. We think we minimize the cuts. We know what it affects the Salida School District, somewhere to the tune of $370,000 is what the cuts will be at the local level, and that's true of particularly the rural districts across the state. So we'll continue to work hard to continue to try to adequately fund K-12 education in Colorado. And again, kudos to the governor for being willing to work with us and make some sacrifices. And we're happy to see him be here to sign Senate Bill 230. Thank you all.
This is kind of the silliest thing because these guys do all the work, so I have to sign it.
That's the most important.
No, this is really, probably not the most important.
Or almost the most important.
They need it.
(3:11 p.m.), June 9th.
That's a lot. Yay.